What's going on, boxing fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. Finally, I am back in action in terms of the boxing scene. It has been quite some time since I made a boxing video. Finally, we are back here again. We meet again. We're here together, thankfully. But recently, yes, I have been keeping up with the boxing scene. There has been a few fights that, of course, that I've been keeping up to date with. But really, in terms of big name fighters, there hasn't really big name fights. Real things that you can be able to get into, sink your teeth in, make my predictions, make my breakdowns, and then go into my recaps and reviews like I usually do. But this time we get a pretty decent headliner where we got two tune-up fights for PBC fighters, that being Jermall Charlo and Caleb Plant, to be able to then get into a similar situation, which was Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia earlier this year. That with them being in Times Square and having their fight and potentially getting into a bigger fight later down the road for PBC to generate a lot of money, with these guys, them being one of the bigger notable names still in the super middleweight division. And we start off with the co-main event, that being Jermall Charlo versus Thomas Lamana. Lamana is pretty much a no-name, has no real notable wins on his record, has been knocked down a few times, has had losses on his career. So, typical no-name tune-up fight to get into your situation, to get back rejuvenated. Last time out, we haven't seen Charlo fight since 2023. That was against Joseph Benavidez Jr. at 168. And he looked really good in that fight, in my honest opinion. But again, before that, he took another year, like a few year layoffs. So he hasn't really been in the ring, really. But in this fight, he definitely looked up to par. Definitely not where he needs to be in terms of having the levels of big fights that is going to be later sought out in his career if he continues on fighting, and if he doesn't have to deal with those mental issues that he's been dealing with as well beforehand. He's talked about his mental health and things that he's gone on before in his life. So similar things with his brother Jermall. But Charlo, man, just really took care of business in this one. The jab was looking tremendous. It wasn't missing off target from Lamana. And that's how much sting was on the jab of Charlo when he was landing on Lamana. It was really starting to shake him up. Had redness on his face, starting to make his nose bleed. Already was swollen up the eye. And by the third round, he already dropped him once. He had him doing the stanky leg in the fourth. And in the fifth, he eventually started to wear down some shots. In the fifth, though, shout out to Lamana, his determination and his heart, having a little bit of the showboating, having something trying to go to his side to uplift himself in this fight. He landed a nice little left hook and a right hand here and there, but he didn't really provide much of else in terms of pushback in this one. Charlo was very, very dominant. Really nice to be able to see him after that, putting on a performance of dominance, getting back into his sort of self that he had before. One thing that I can say about Charlo in this one, he did look a little beefy in this one. The Charlo type build that they usually had before in their prime run, where they were a little bit more slender, rock build. This one, he looked like he added some weight, or obviously going through the things that he was going through in his life, not taking boxing as seriously as he was, taking that 2 year layoff that he took. Definitely, had some fat on him, again, a little beefy, had some stuff right there in the midsection for himself, but definitely took care of business, got things done in a dominant fashion, in my opinion. So Jermall Charlo takes care of business on his end, and we move on to the main event. That was Caleb Plant versus Armando Resendiz. I don't know how to feel about this one. I don't. I am going to have a very, very hot take on this one. A lot of people might not agree with this one, but I don't care. I don't care. This is my opinion. These are my eyes. I'm trying to watch this as unbiased as I am. I thought this fight was a draw. There, I said it. I thought this fight was a draw. I thought the first 5 rounds of this fight, Caleb Plant won. I'm not gonna say he dominated. He wasn't like completely blowing out Resendiz in this one, but he was winning based off volume. The first 2 rounds, him having the jab flowing, him shooting in combination. Armando Resendiz was not really throwing a lot. He was kind of just pressuring, moving forward, having his shell style defense where, some of the shots were landing on the guard, but some were going through, but nothing really hard was landing. In the third round, that's where things started to really sway differently. I can understand as to why people may have swung this round to Resendiz, but besides like 2 flurries that he had, there was not much that he did. Plant was really having the most volume, landing the more better shots, landing the more shots in combinations. And Resendiz landed a really nice left hook that wobbled Caleb Plant. And while it did wobble him, after that punch landed, he landed a right hand over the top, landed kind of on the side towards the temple of Caleb Plant. That kind of shook him up a little bit, but then Caleb Plant landed a nice left hook that kind of stumbled Resendiz back a little bit too. So I think it kind of evened it out. I mean, if you want to go with like the harder shot in this one, the more effective damage goes to Resendiz. But if you're looking overall, who is really like winning the majority of the round of this fight, Caleb Plant was in control of it. Fourth round, same thing. Even though Resendiz was trying to be able to get things more close inside the pocket, nature, inside game, wasn't really working into his fruition the best because Caleb was kind of negating that a little bit. And again, throughout the majority of that round, I think Caleb was doing what he was supposed to be doing. In the fifth round, I think it was kind of a swing round in this one where there was a little bit more inside fighting. Resendiz was landing a little bit more sneakier shots inside the pocket, especially like little shovel uppercuts to the stomach. He was doing a little bit better work. He was doing a little bit more of output. But again, I just think Caleb Plant was just doing more and doing better and efficient work. And then you go into the sixth round, and I think that's where it completely flips on its head. I think the first 5 rounds I gave to Plant, and then from there, the next 3 rounds I gave to Resendiz. I think Resendiz from there, he dominated the rounds that he dominated in. He was starting to really allow that pressure to get to Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant just seemingly looked like he crumbled under the pressure. It started to really get to him, started to really make him start to second guess himself, and he was getting landed on a lot of hard shots on his chin. Shout out to Caleb Plant though. That's kind of like his build, where like he's chinny, but he has good recovery. So unless you put him out cold like Canelo, then you kind of don't have a chance to put him out. Same thing like with Benavidez in the fight with him, where Benavidez had him hurt, had him wobbled so many times, but he was never able to like put him down. Same thing here happened with Resendiz, where he was landing a lot of like a lot of hard, heavy leather to the freaking coconut head of Caleb Plant, but it wobbled him, it hurt him. Obviously, you can be able to tell, but it wasn't enough to be able to just have him take a knee, have him really like flopping all over like Tyson Fury versus Usyk one, like just really just running around the ring trying to be able to stand up somehow, some way. That's where things started to, flip on his head. That's where Resendiz started to get his confidence and his momentum towards his way. But I'll be honest, even then, when Resendiz is dominant and having his moments and winning rounds, Caleb Plant is still in there. Again, earlier I said he started to crumble, he started to fade, he started to do this and he started to do that. But just the dog and Caleb Plant, man, I can't like negate that. He still was in the fight. He was still trying to throw nice body shots. The left hook from Caleb Plant was money all night, whether it be to the body, whether it be to the head. It was landing at will. The jab was really, it was good. But the defense the conditioning, the endurance. This is a recurring thing that Caleb Plant has. Maybe he needs to have a little switch up in camp, or maybe he just needs to be able to go somewhere else, a different area where he's able to get better conditioning. Maybe a Big Bear, maybe he trains in Mexico City. I don't know, but he definitely needs a level up in terms of endurance because, again, this is a reoccurring issue that he has. That while he is a fantastic boxer, he has the skills, he has the talent, he just fades, man. It just goes away. Eventually, his endurance and his gas tank and him trying to be able to upkeep the type of tempo that he usually fights at, it doesn't last long in a lot of these 12-round fights, and especially against a pressure fighter, which is kind of his kryptonite. I think that the style matchup definitely did not favor Caleb Plant whatsoever. We've seen it in the Canelo fight, we've seen it in the Benavidez fight when they're able to take the power coming their way and they're just continuously walking him down, and he has no real answer because he doesn't have that kind of pop to be able to take him off of you because you have a tremendous chin. It's hard. It really wears on Caleb Plant, and again, it's stylistically the worst matchup that he can be able to have present in him. And while all these factors are going in, and while he has been leveling up and changing a lot into his game, and he's doing a lot of things, and also as well, I think you have to take into consideration the factor that they made this card just based to make the money off to make the next card, which was, the big money fight that they try to be able to surround this card from, which was Plant and Charlo, and everything looming around this, and wanting to be able to get over these tune-up fights, to be able to go into the big name and big money fights. Because again, Resendiz is another dude who doesn't really have big of a name. He has losses on his record. Not much really cares or follows about Resendiz unless you're like a diehard hardcore boxing fan. Um, so yeah, that you have to take that into consideration as well, I believe. And if you were to say this was an upset, I'm not like mad at the judges' scorecards. Them having 116, 112, both going to Resendiz, 115, 113 going to Plant. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. I honestly, if you see Plant winning this fight, maybe one of the later rounds he snuck in. I mean, 6 to red, I think Resendiz won. Round 9 is the round that I gave to Caleb Plant where I think he started to outbox Resendiz and was really starting to get more into his groove about things and started to really start piece up Resendiz, where Resendiz, again, is still bringing his pressure and still is landing shots and is effective, but he's starting to slow down a little bit, maybe take the round off for himself. And then from round 10 to 12, I just think Resendiz took control of the fight over again, where the back half of the fight, it was pretty much all he wanted to be able to do, if we're being honest. So again, while Resendiz was dominant in his moments and dominant in the rounds, which was it's crazy to be able to say because Plant was, I would think, well, from watching the fight, not what I would think, but what I would say is he would dominate, or not, I can't say dominate because he didn't dominate any time in this fight, but he was winning rounds. And then Resendiz would like keep up pace with him in terms of numbers and just like output and showing, because Resendiz did land a lot of nice shots, but there was a few shots that obviously were getting oohs and ahs from the crowd and the commentary that didn't land at all or just landed on the guard. What are you going to do with a home crowd, field advantage, you know what I mean? It is what it is. Um, and it's keeping up the pace, and I'm thinking Plant is like winning the round, and then like towards the last 30 to like 40 seconds, Resendiz has this flurry and starts to land real heavy power shots on Plant, and you can see Plant started to really wither to those shots, and it really started to hurt him, and he didn't take it as well, and that won him the round. That there was a few rounds for Resendiz that's how he won a round, where it was close and competitive, but then towards the end he kind of hurt him and he won the round. I also think in terms of the layoffs as well, for Plant, him fighting Trevor McCumbee and then fighting like 250 something days after that which is something that I saw on the screen, and I felt like that it wasn't that long ago that he fought. But if it really was, like the last time he fought, obviously the last time he did fight was Trevor McCumbee, but it being like 250 days ago, that's atrocious, man. I feel like you have to build off of that win. Trevor McCumbee, again, not really a big name, but undefeated fighter, very strong, has crazy power. You go in there and you kind of beat him in his own game. You do what you have to do. Just start to build up the resume. Don't take your foot off the gas. Just continue to be able to move on. You having these layoffs that I'm not gonna say are unnecessary. I understand that having larger amounts of money in your pocket, not being as motivated to be able to get in there and continue to be great after you already had success in big money fights already with Canelo and with the David Benavidez and having cards being surrounded by you and you being a headliner and all these things. You've already won championships and you're building success and you have a family. You're starting to have your own kids and stuff like that. Obviously, those are things to be able to take into consideration for Caleb Plant, but I just think that he shouldn't have taken as long as a layoff as he did. But again, for this fight, I had it a draw. Very close. I thought there was a lot of rounds that you could be able to go other ways. I know a few people had round 3 go to Resendiz, round 5 maybe Resendiz. I saw round 11 or round 10 go to Plant. So there's rounds to be able to, throw in there because it was a very close and hard fight. I don't think eventually, I think they will get an immediate rematch for this one because, again, they want to be able to make the Plant versus Charlo fight as soon as possible. For Charlo, maybe he takes another tune-up fight, a stay busy fight to keep him up to date, keep him on the right trajectory, keep his momentum on the upswing. I don't really have any type of names as of right now in the 168 division. Maybe you're not gonna give him any title holders as of right now. Not like he's not gonna fight Canelo. I know that. Obviously, Canelo and Bud are like the headliners as of right now in 168. But um, you know, get him another tune-up fight for PBC. Let him stay busy. Let him get another knockout. Let his confidence start to boost up and continue to push him as a big star that he pretty much already is as of right now. And then you'll have Plant versus Resendiz go back in again, and you see if Plant can be able to redeem himself or this matchup was really what it was made up to be. And Resendiz is going to be even more dominant in the rematch than what he was against Plant in the first one. But that is my recap and review, boxing fans. Thank you guys for tuning back in. Like this video if you obviously like this video. Comment your opinions on what you thought of the main event between Plant and Resendiz. How did you score it? Who do you thought won? What did you think it was clear Resendiz? Did you think it was a lot closer than what I thought, similar to having Plant potentially getting the win or it being a draw? What do you see in the future for these guys? And obviously subscribe. Subscribe, boxing fans. You're here for a reason, obviously. And we're both, enjoying our company about what we have within each other and why we not keeping that a lot longer. Why not? But thank you guys again for watching again, and peace.